come to me, what they really wanted to know is, can I have the lifestyle I want? They were thinking it was a money equation, okay? And so it was like a three-legged stool, but they were coming all too often wobbling on one of the legs. Maybe they had accumulated their financial wealth at the expense of their health. And now they were going to spend all their wealth trying to regain their health, which is really silly. Or they had accumulated their financial wealth at the expense of relationships with their spouse, their kids, their grandkids, or their God. And they were wondering, what was all this for at the end of the day? I'm not going to take any of this money with me. There's no luggage racks on hearses, as the song says. I mean, two affluent guys died and went to the pearly gates. One turned to the other and said, man, how much did you leave behind? The other one said, all of it. You don't take it with you.
Right.
And so they thought that they were empowering their children when they were giving them handouts. And see, a lot of these people would come and their kids were sort of born on third base and grew up thinking they hit a triple.
Right.
And they were sitting around, when do I get my share? Can I have, will you pay for? And they were billing them out of their problems. And they went to an attorney and they would have a trust. And I would say, well, let's look at your trust. And let me guess, this is probably what it went like. You went in and about 15 minutes, there was small talk. And then the attorney said, okay, now you want to be fair, don't you? And they go, yeah. You want to divide this up equally, don't you? And as soon as the attorney gets you nodding, he goes, hot diggity dog, I got another one. And he takes your kids' names, plugs it into this boilerplate document, and it's going to be divided up equally among your kids when you pass away, sometimes requiring to kill the goose laying the golden egg, the business or the apartments or the assets when it's not a good time to sell. And then it gets dumped in their laps, and it ruins half of the kids in this country. Oh, when do I get my share? It's called equal distribution trusts. Patrick, there's nothing more unequal than the equal distribution to unequals.
Yeah.
Now, people hear that, and they go, huh? I'm going, okay, our Creator, whatever your belief is of a higher power, does not give equal distribution of blessings, of health, let's say, to all of us, regardless of how some of us may choose to abuse our body. Our Creator gives us equal opportunities, okay? You do this, this, and this, then you will reap this type of health or blessing or whatever. He just doesn't hand out blessings to all of us regardless of how we do things. So why do you want your trust to do that? So I would help them set up their trust with equal opportunities instead of equal distribution, and it changes those children and grandchildren to be responsible and accountable. And then they would come in and they would learn, because my two sons, okay, Emran and Aaron, I didn't give them anything. I didn't pay for their college. My wife and I did not pay for our kids' college education. We gave them equal opportunities, but not equal distribution. Because when I was a kid, and I went to Brigham Young University. I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken 30 hours a week. My wife worked at a bookstore. I got scholarships and grants and loans, but we actually had better study habits than a lot of our friends whose parents were just yelling it out. So when we had our 6 children, we didn't want any of them to think we would just pay for their college, and we didn't. They had to earn their school clothes. They had to shampoo carpets or paint or whatever. But if they wanted to go on a semester abroad in Israel or Egypt or somewhere, they had to sell their motorcycle, sacrifice, come up with as much skin in the game as they could. Then we might match, or we might loan them, and then they would pay it back. So what happened with my 6 children and my 2 sons, and I have 4 daughters, when they learned that, in 2000, after 2001 in particular, 9/11, on family vacations with a purpose, we teach our kids responsibility and accountability. And my 2 sons says, Dad, in your first book, you talk about buying a house with no money down and no credit. It's 9/11. Well, I learned from Richard Rossi, when there's anxiety, there's opportunity. I says, it's never been easier to buy a house with no money down and no credit. I gave them the criteria to look for. They came back in 2 weeks and they had a list of 30 homes that met the criteria. And they both bought homes with no money down and no credit within a week.
Wow.
They began to sock away money in their own max-funded insurance contracts. By ages 26 and 28, they had net worth of $1.6 million. I never gave them a dime. They came in and worked for nothing as like indentured servants the first 2 years, editing my books and so forth. They didn't get a paycheck. Now, when Time Warner, my publisher, learned that they had net worths of 1.6 million at age 26 and 28. They told me to put the book I was working on at the moment on the back burner, and they said, we want your sons to write a book, Millionaire by 30. How to have your money earning more than you do by age 32. You know why? Because the research we had done showed back then, this was 2008, that the average college graduate, after going to school and learning how to go out and make a living, and then nobody taught them what to do with the living. And they want to have all the things their parents have, so on and so forth, and they were spending, consuming, and what have you. And by age 30, the average net worth of a college graduate in 2008 was only $15,000. That's pathetic. Your money should be earning more than you do by age 32. So they gave my two sons a $400,000 advance to write the book. That was 4 times the advance I got for my first book, okay? And so the next family retreat, my kid said, so how do you write a book? And I said, oh, you don't have to be a writer to be an author. And my sons actually wrote that book, Millionaire by 30, from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Monday mornings only for 12 weeks, 12 chapters. We put the flesh on the bones, and it became a bestseller. But the message here is, Patrick, it's not just for those who are in their 20s. Yes, the millennials need to start socking away money and think twice before just following the herd, putting money in traditional IRAs or 401ks. If they did it, if they started socking away 10 or 20 grand a year in a max funded insurance contract, that had $8 million when they were 65.
Wow.
8 million, generating 10% payout, 800 grand a year tax-free. That'll knock the socks off of any IRA or 401k after tax. But we've actually had people take that book, Millionaire by 30, because it starts from scratch. See, most people came to me and they already had some assets they'd accumulated. They just needed to optimize them, save tax. I've had people in their 50s and 60s read Millionaire by 30 because they had to start all over again. They just filed bankruptcy. They went through a divorce, started all over. And in 10 years, they had $1 million.
Wow.
And so it's really understanding how money works. And the 3 marvels or miracles, compound interest, tax-free accumulation, not tax-deferred,
Right.
and safe, positive leverage. The ability to own and control assets with very little or none of your money tied up or at risk in those assets. Would you believe that CPAs and tax attorneys fail a 3-question exam about compound interest when I give it to them?
That would be disturbing.
Let me tell you one thing I do.
Okay.
Imagine I've got an 8.5 by 11 sheet of 26-pound copy paper. Okay, that's normal copy paper. And I hand it to you, Patrick, and I say, fold it in half. Now fold it in half one more time. Now you fold it in half twice. Now imagine if you could fold that sheet of copy paper in half a total of 48 more times, 50 times total, okay? Now you can't do it physically because of the folds. But imagine if you could fold that sheet of paper in half 48 more times, a total of 50. I ask my audience members, okay, write down on that sheet of paper a guesstimate about how thick you think that sheet of paper would be. And CPAs and tax attorneys go, 3/8 of an inch, half an inch, 3 inches. Some say 12 feet. Some say a mile, and they get laughed out of the room. I go, hold on. I thought you understood compound interest. What is the sheet of paper doing every time you fold it in half? It's doubling.
Yeah.
A sheet of copy paper is 5/1000ths of an inch thick. Double, 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 double. Do you know, after 20 folds, it's already a mile high.
Wow.
In 42 folds, it would be from here to the moon. If you could fold it over 50 times, it would be 93 million miles thick from here to the sun.
Wow.
And I've got savvy people that work with numbers every day that are guessing a half an inch. I'm trying to get them to the sun because they don't understand compound interest. So it was Einstein that said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world.
Right.
It was Rothschilds that said, no, compound interest tax-free. Do you know if you double a dollar, okay, just like that sheet of paper, a dollar doubled 20 times is $1 million if it's tax-free. If it's taxes earned in a bank or credit union, in a 25% tax bracket, it's only worth $72,000.
From $1 million to $72,000 is the impact of taxes. Wow.
In other words, $1 doubles to $2. Now you pay tax of 25 cents on that gain. So you only have $1.75.
Right.
The $1.75 doubles to $3.50. You pay tax on that. In a 25% bracket, you don't have $1 million. You only have 72 grand. In a 33% bracket, you only have 27,000. When you could have had $1 million.
Wow.
So to summarize, where do most people in America put their money? Taxed as earned investments. They put it in banks and credit unions. They could have $1 million and they only have 27,000, for example. That's like crawling around a racetrack. We're going on $1 million dash here and they're crawling. If you put it in a tax-deferred IRA, oh, it's tax-deferred, I got $1 million. No, that's not all your money. Only about 650,000 of that is your money. Why don't you sprint around that track, put it in something tax-free, okay? Double it in that 20 times, you have $1 million and it's tax-free, and that'll generate 100 grand a year of tax-free income into perpetuity. And you can put that in your family bank, and you let your children and grandchildren access that money with responsibility and accountability with some skin in the game, and you'll never run out of money.